Hey everybody, I think that's on. It usually gives me a countdown, but maybe I didn't see the countdown today. So welcome to our Wednesday free live demo of the Genius Biofeedback. I'm Laura Cardwell. If you don't know who I am, then I don't know how you got here. I'm kidding. I am a quantum integrative wellness practitioner, practiced applied neurology and energetic kinesiology for several years, and have been working on my doctorate at Quantum University in Hawaii. And that's how I got introduced to quantum biofeedback and have been introducing that into my practice. And now I get to use that tool and share it with you. So welcome. So today we're going to be talking, well, first of all, let me do the things. First, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I am not diagnosing or making any recommendations. I'm simply looking at what might be in or out of balance in the energy field, and then using some sort of technique to harmonize that. And today we're going to be using the quantum biofeedback. Sometimes I use sound, sometimes I use acupressure. It just depends on what I'm doing. So, but it is not diagnostic. So as we look through what all the things that we're going to look through today, I need you to remember that you can't read a quantum biofeedback readout as diagnostic, because it is your whole field. It's your entangled energy field. And so that can involve more than just you in what's going on right now. Hold on, Denise is asking me if I started yet. And yes, I'm replying that I have started yet. So quantum biofeedback is an evolution on biofeedback. Biofeedback is all of your Fitbits and things like that are taking a physical measurement of what's going on in your physical body and then giving you a readout so that you can adjust your behavior accordingly. Well, somebody just put a note in the comments that you're here so that I can see that that somebody's here. Oh, she found me. Denise, hi, welcome. You're here. Okay, so again, I can't see who's here and who isn't here. So if you guys want to interact, then please leave me comments or ask questions, and I can see those. And that's how I'll know. Okay, so then the quantum biofeedback, similar to biofeedback, the quantum biofeedback then uses your voice, your picture, and your archetypal information, like your name and your birthday, to give us a readout of what's going on in your energy field. So it tells us what's going on in the mind and in the body and in the biofield. So we're looking at meridians and chakras. We can look at vitamins and amino acids, spinal energy, and we can look at brain waves, we can look at neurotransmitters, and we can look at brain areas. We can look at pretty much anything we want to. But this week we're going to be focusing on looking at weight release. And if you guys saw the email that just came out, I am releasing the Does This Brain Make My Butt Look Big? So we're doing a 2.0. And I had a beautiful group of 9 women who took that class earlier this year, and we focused more on the neurology and the belief systems and what was going on for brain function and how that might be involved in what's going on with weight release or weight storage, I like to say. So now we're going to be taking that same class, and we're going to be adding quite a bit of more tools, recipes, nutritional information. We're kind of bringing it into the whole picture. So if you have gained your quarantine 15, or if you were already holding on, if you already had a little weight storage going on, and you guys are interested in that program, it is posted on the website. I think the cost is $497, I think. And it's a 10-week program. And every week we'll be doing a class. It'll be an online class. And then you'll be getting emails with daily recipes and affirmations and tools and tricks. And then the goal here is to release some of that extra stuff and let it go. So we're just going to kind of focus on that today so that you can see what it is. So I have a willing victim, and I'm not sure if she's here with me. Kate, are you here? Just type in the comments and let me know if you're here or not. But if not, we're going to talk about her behind her back, because that's how we do here. Okay, so Let me share my screen. Let's get to that part where you guys get to see what I'm doing, which is, oh, here comes my dog. Hold on. Hold on. No, go on. What's that? She has figured out how to open the door to my office. Great. Okay, so now there it is, your favorite part. Oh, there's Kate. She's saying hi. She's here. Hi, Kate. And everyone else that's here, if you want to say hi, I'll say hi to you too. I will not be exclusive. Okay, so we're going to look at, I have several panels that I can look at, and we have a program that's developed specifically for looking at weight release and what might be, what are some of the core problems? That's what we want to look at today, is what might be some of the core problems going on. So let's start, as we always do, with taking a little snapshot of Miss Kate, of her aura, and let's see how amazing she looks today. If you guys don't know Kate, I'm going to call her out a little bit, but Kate is my superhero. She's also my my boss, and she is my admin and my social media person, and she does all of the things. Okay, here comes her aura. It's a little bit of a lag, but there it comes, popping up there. So what we see in the screen is we have this purple. Now remember, we're reading right to left. So the purple is actually on the left and moving out, and that was just a nice, beautiful, higher consciousness kind of sitting in her intuition. She's a fairly intuitive person, and she kind of lives in that place. But what we have kind of streaming in here is a little bit of yellow, green, mucky stuff coming down. So that's solar plexus, but it's also maybe some digestive issues. She might have just eaten lunch, and she might actually just be digesting her lunch. But there might be some spleen or blood sugar things. And then there also could be some solar plexus chakra things that we want to look at. Now, when it's bright and vibrant, the yellow solar plexus, and when it's full, that's kind of somebody who lives in their empowered place, is grounded in their wisdom. But when we see it kind of streaming in like this and a little bit murky, it looks more like it could be more like something going on with the digestive pathways or possibly the spleen or pancreas. So we'll look further. And then we've got this little orangey dot kind of hanging out down here in her lower chakras. That's some emotional stuff going on. Looks like it could be maybe having to do with her solar plexus, because it looks like it kind of aligns there with more of the solar plexus area. So some emotions around self-worth, self-being, knowing, communicating, being empowered, all of those things. And then there's some blue around the outside. So there might have been something where there's just some communication going on there. So we'll just look a little deeper. And so that's our starting place. Okay, so let's go look at those weight panels. Now I have them preloaded in there so that, I'm just going to balance them so that we can hop right in, because there's quite a bit of them. But as we see right off the bat, the weight release overall is in a yellow, or it's, I can't see today colors, is red, which tells us that there's that this is out of balance, and it's a 766 it looks like. So that's pretty out of balance, and that's something that Kate would say too, that she's been really actually I can tell the story more there, that I know that she's really been, that this has been a thing she's been working on for a while, and it's important to her. So so we're just going to look at to see what might some of the core things would be that might be creating stress for her, because everybody we are more overweight as a nation than we've ever been. And it's a rising problem, and not only just in middle age now, but we're really seeing it in children. And some of the newer research, which has been really cool, I've been following and learning some new interesting things about this. And as they're studying more kind of as humans have eaten over the course of time, they're finding that we're eating more fat and more proteins than we've ever, especially in the United States, right? So that's what I'm talking about. More fats and proteins than we ever have. And even just back to the 1970s, most meals didn't involve a whole lot of fat or meat. And people didn't eat meat, sometimes not even every day of the week, but for sure they didn't normally eat it all 3 days or 3 meals of the day. So we're eating way more fats and way more proteins. And yes, there's really great research that some of that seems to have been helpful, but they also really didn't study the whole system. A lot of times, when they do those studies, they're looking at kind of a really specific thing, which might have been heart health or brain health, but they weren't necessarily looking at the liver and the kidneys and the pancreas and the gallbladder, which might have been having stress and wouldn't really show up in that study if that's not what they were studying. So now we're seeing that if we look at the whole, just like everything else in holistic medicine, if we look at the whole picture, that eating those fats and eating those proteins are creating stress, especially in the kidneys and the liver. And when the kidneys are out of balance or the liver is out of balance, then the digestion's out of balance and the blood sugar is for sure going to be out of balance. And then we may have digestive issues like candida and things like that. They're beginning to say that really comes with keeping the liver in balance. And so to do that, we really need to look at toxicity and things like that. So there's lots of things that we will look at when we get into the class that are how to look at different research, how to read the research, and also good tools for releasing weight, which is spoiler alert, some of that might be kind of a plant-based, vegan, low salt, low oil, no processed sugars kind of meal, which makes sense, right? Like that's how humans have eaten for most of existence. And also when you look at cultures around the world, most of them still do. There's a lot of rice being eaten. There's a lot of potatoes being eaten. There's a lot, the bread bowl, and barley and oats and things like that. So we will, when we get into the class, we'll look deeper at some of those things. But let's look for Kate right now, what might be some of the core things that are going on for her. Now, I'm going to come at this from kind of a global perspective because I have lots of different trainings and lots of different information. But what I know, if I'm going to look at it from an Ayurvedic perspective, is that, and an Ayurvedic perspective is that we have 3 different doshas that we're kind of born with. That's the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. And that we have a constitutional imbalance in one of those, and that's kind of our core personality. And when it comes to weight, that's a very Kapha thing. So Kapha is a very it's a heavy energy. It's a slower, more sluggish pace. And so Kapha people tend to be a little bit soft, tend to hold a little bit, their water element, they tend to hold a little bit more water. And their metabolism isn't necessarily as fast and they process a little bit slower. And so that's just their natural body type. But a lot of us, when we get overweight in some kind of way, that's our Kapha being imbalanced. And so things have gotten sluggish. And so we want to look at what might be slugging things up and how we can speed it up. Now, interestingly enough, right off the bat, when your Kapha is out of balance, our Vedic tradition would tell you, like, that's the first time to cut out fats, like oils, oily things, and avocados and nuts and heavy oils and things like that. Those are sluggish. They're cooling. They slow us down, right? So what we want to look at is just to heat it up. We're going to heat it up in some kind of way. And that matches what they're saying about the research. So all these like Atkins to ketos diet. Now I'm not a doctor, so I can't say whether or not those things are right or wrong, but I can tell you that from this perspective, which is an ancient perspective, that's not the way that's not great for your weight loss. Now you're going to go into ketosis and you're going to lose weight. That's if you go into ketosis. But ketosis is actually a survival state. We're not supposed to stay there. And a lot of people are doing ketosis and then staying there because it's effective and they're losing weight. But it's actually, we're going to gain that back. And when we do gain it back, we will have done quite a bit of damage to our liver and our gallbladder and our kidneys. And now they think that there's a correlation. I don't know this for sure because I'm not a doctor, but between some of the adrenal issues, the kidney issues that we're having, chronic fatigue issues that we're having, and overeating of fats. So, and we've all done it. I'm guilty. Like I did keto for a long time and then I gained all of that back plus some. And so that's a side note. Let's look at what we're looking at here. Okay. So I want to look at some core elements and I want to look at the assessment, and I'm going to look at practices today. So let's look at the assessment first. What might be going on? This is just kind of a quick assessment. And again, this is energetic, not diagnostic. So it looks like Kate may not be getting enough prebiotic food energetically, but that probably correlates to what might be going on for her physically. Prebiotics are the foods that feed probiotics. So things like onions and garlic and leeks and Jerusalem asparagus and fermented foods, low sugar fermented foods, so not necessarily kombucha, but so that she may benefit from taking a probiotic prebiotic blend, or eating more garlic and onions in her meals, like a whole onion. Like when they say eating probiotics, it's like if you're going to make, well, in the new world of eating a lot of starches, which we'll talk about in the class, if you're making this big thing of potatoes, then it's like a whole onion. You eat the whole onion. So so she may benefit from some prebiotics. And it looks like chromium deficiency is showing up there. Chromium's involved in blood sugar. So I'm wondering, again, we're looking at, maybe I said earlier, it could be a spleen pancreas issue, that she may not have enough chromium. The stomach acid looks like it's out of balance. I don't know whether or not it's high or low, but it looks like it maybe could use some support. And then if we look at the bottom, there's that blood sugar, right? So now we're seeing that blood sugar assessment, and the cortisol is excess. Now, if cortisol is excess, it actually becomes kind of one of the main things we have to focus on, because cortisol and your hormones and cortisol and your insulin, they have, and your thyroid, they all have a direct connection to each other. So what's when they say basically that stress causes disease, they mean the cortisol relationship to everything that's going on in your body. And cortisol is the hormone of stress, right? So for sure, we would want to be looking for Kate on how to manage her stress levels, because you can't really balance her blood sugar without balancing her cortisol first. They're going to go together. And in balancing her cortisol, and that means therefore we're also going to be balancing the adrenal glands and her kidneys in particular, then we would be working on it's going to automatically start to begin to balance that blood sugar. Now, she may also need some chromium to help balance that blood sugar, but that's a physical thing that I wouldn't necessarily be prescribing to her, because I'm not a doctor. So I would be looking at it energetically. So today we'll kind of dive in from that cortisol place and that blood sugar place. So I'm going to go ahead and drag these down into my tray. And now we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of these core elements. So these are kind of some of the core things that could be going on for Kate that are involved. So there's emotional eating. Now, this is pretty typical for most of us as Americans. We tend to emotionally eat, and probably right now more than other times in her life because of quarantine 15, she might be doing some extra emotional eating. So that could be out of balance as a life pattern, and we would want to look at ancestral things, but it could also be out of balance as just this like really acute time that we've had where there's a lot going on in the world, and it is a lot to hold, right? And so if you think about weight from a physical place, it's what are we holding on to? Where is stuff getting stuck? When are we not really being able to let things go and move it through? And so emotions are really a time where we really hold on. And right now is a time where we're really all holding on to a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. And then salt excessive. Now, it is not hard for us to be salt excessive in the United States, because like a sprinkle of salt a day is really all we need in the world of what they told us we needed from a nutritional standpoint. But we tend to have salt in every meal, and we tend to have salt in everything that we cook with that meal. So there's salt in our tomato sauce. There's salt, and even if we think we're eating really healthy and clean, we tend to still get a lot of salt. And they tend to put salt in things that don't necessarily need it. Like even, for example, I was reading one of my oat milks this morning, and it had salt in it, and it doesn't need to have salt in it. So it's like you have to read, it's in everything. So it's really easy to get a lot of salt in our lives. So the kind of the SOS diet, which is the low salt to no salt, low oil to no oil, and no processed sugar. So salt, oil, sugar is the SOS. that helps to reset. And even if you only do it for like 21 days, if you cut out salt, oil, and sugar for 21 days, which creates a new habit, but also it resets a lot of the taste buds so that we actually can taste the salt when it goes in, and then we can actually eat a lot less. So that would be maybe something that we would look at as a possible plan, a food plan for Kate. Okay, so that was the core elements. And then I want to go and look at some practices. Well, hold on. Let me go ahead and drag those in to our panel. Okay, so then I want to look at some practices that might show as helpful for Kate in her process. And actually the kind of practices that show here also tell me a little bit more about the kind of weight that Kate might be holding on to, right? So the 5 Tibetan rites, the castor oil pack, and the master cleanse are the top, and then and so coffee enema at the bottom. So it looks like there could be some toxicity in the system. Now we do know that when the blood sugar gets out of balance, when the whole digestive system slows down, that we don't move things through as easily. And when we don't move things through as easily, we can get microbiome disruptions. And when we get a microbiome disruption, we can end up with heavy metal issues, or we could end up with food allergies, and then they're going to exacerbate the problem. So it looks like we would want to look deeper for Kate into kind of cleansing and moving some of that stuff out of her gut and figuring out what's going on, like looking a little deeper maybe at foods that she might be having some things with. But let's also just take a quick look at some of the recommended food plans, or what might be out of balance or in this case, we're not looking at out of balance. It looks like it might be the thing that she might need to bring it back into balance. So, and this does tell me that the master cleanse is in there. So definitely there's some cleansing to be done. The GAPS diet, which is about the gut as well, and the gut-brain connection. SIBO resolution. So SIBO is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that's a disruption in the gut. And then autoimmune paleo is showing at the top, the SDC food plan, and eliminate processed carbs. So what it's really saying, what I'm seeing as the kind of the pattern there, is that she could really benefit from getting that gut balance back in balance, because the gut balance is really the root of a lot of things as well. But now we're beginning to understand that gut balance really starts with the liver and the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the kidneys. So we'd want to be doing some detoxing and moving some things out, and also eating a really clean whole food diet that helps to, now she's going to need fiber and grains. If there is some toxicity going on in the system, it's that fiber and grain that's really going to pull those toxicities all the way through and all the way out. So so we would be talking about a diet that had things like potatoes and grains like oats and millet, and because that's the stuff that's really going to move things out all the way through, right? So I'm just going to pull these in. So this is saying gluten-free. Now gluten, it is gluten. When we have a gluten issue, it's a protein issue. And so it's not necessarily a wheat issue. There can be gluten in other things. But what happens is that when everything's out of balance, we can't really manage the proteins in the gluten or in the grain. And so we have a gluten sensitivity in some kind of way. And it's true, it isn't the best for us. So from the grains, if you're going to eat grains, which we need to be eating grains, this whole idea that we shouldn't be eating grains is really part of the kidney and liver issue. But you want to eat, you can have wheat, but it's really hard to get American wheat that hasn't been modified, or it's just harder to get an American wheat that doesn't have some issues with it, right? So, but it doesn't mean that wheat is the problem, or that gluten in itself is the problem. It's more the oils that we the oils and the fats and the sugars that we get in bread and things like that make us overeat it, and are also causing some of the other health problems that are then creating the gut disruption. So it's not just about being gluten-free or grain-free. It's understanding like we need grains, and gluten isn't that bad if everything's, well, it's not that bad. I don't know, but it's not necessarily gluten. We've blamed it all on gluten, but gluten isn't the main problem, right? There's a bigger, we need to look at the whole story and not just that one thing. Okay, so now I'm just going to look at some of the systems that are showing stress for her. And we see insulin and pancreas right here. The small intestine's actually in the yellow, so we know that because of the SIBO showing. DHEA actually declines as we get older. And so when there's stress with that, one of the things that we can do is lift weights, which will help up the DHEA and keep that in balance. And so then here we see that, so there's a hormone imbalance, and then there's also some inflammation in the blood sugar. So there are some things that we could do to build a custom plan for Kate that would involve like maybe some weightlifting that would help her to start to build muscle mass, which is going to help with everything. The muscle mass is going to help her to release the weight, because the more muscle we have, the more we use those calories for the muscles. So it's so building muscle is a really great way to help release weight. So okay, so you can see how we would be working through this panel, and we'd be looking at core ways that we can help build a individualized weight release plan. And we're going to, in the class, we're going to take each one of these panels and we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about all of the things. We're also going to talk about belief systems and ancestral patterns and emotions, because emotions are huge when it comes to eating. Food addiction in families is huge. It's passed down through the DNA from generation to generation. And so we would want to be looking at the emotions. And you can see here that affirmations is actually at the top, right? So there's definitely some core belief. When we look at affirmations, what we're really working on is some core belief things, some ways to really move the energy from a vibrational place. So I'm just going to drop in a couple of the top 3 and bottom 3. So I embrace the joy of exercise. That's always one of mine too. Every day in every way, I approach my ideal weight, and I enjoy exercise. So Kate really, really needs to be reminded how much she enjoys exercise. I forgive everyone. So forgiveness is when we can't let go of things, it means we're holding on to it, and that shows up in weight. And often when I want to be clear, that's on the unconscious level, right? She's not holding on to it. She's not sitting there every day thinking, I'm holding on to all of this anger about these things or these people or these situations or this life. But our job is to really go through and like dig up what she might be holding on to, where she might not be able to forgive either herself or someone else, and really do the forgiveness work, because it's really forgiveness work that helps us to release the weight, because a lot of the weight, a lot of the emotion around weight is holding on and not letting go. Everything I eat nourishes me, and my body is beautiful. Now, there's probably a ton of stress around the idea that my body is beautiful for her. She probably does not think that, and it probably creates quite a bit of a stress response. And then I would remind you that her cortisol was a thing going on. So I'm just going to go grab her chakra, her root chakra, which is involved in the adrenals. And I'll just go, now we see that solar plexus chakra, as we talked about from her aura picture, is also in the red and out of balance. And maybe a little bit of that emotional and communication that we were talking about. She was having maybe a bit of a challenge speaking something that she felt emotional about. That's showing in that throat chakra. So we're going to go ahead and pull those in. But I'm also going to pull in the 528 and the 285 in the solfeggio tones. That 528 is the universal one for miraculous healing and DNA repair. And I'm going to pull in some solfeggio tones, or some sacred geometry, which I'm going to look for the toroids, which are a really great one. Oh, look, and they're out of, that's a good one for her right now, which is kind of our field in which we how we're expressing and how we're receiving. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull that one in. And while we're here, I'm just going to pull in all of her highs and lows. And then I'm going to go get her meridians. Now I want to do a little bit of support for her spleen and her kidneys. So I'm going to go get, so see here, the spleen meridian is under energy. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pull in all of the acupoints that are showing in high and low for the spleen, because it just needs a little, the whole spleen meridian needs a little support. It's a little under energy. But if it's under energy, that means something else is probably over energy. So we'd want to dig deeper eventually. And then I'm also going to grab the kidney meridian. even though that's in green. And the small intestine, I'm going to go and drag that and the triple heater in, because the small intestine is where we saw some of that bacterial issue. And the triple heater is kind of a governor of a lot of the heart and the solar plexus and the mind. So we want to look at the triple, we want to pull it in as well. And then I'm going to go get her organs. So interestingly enough, the pancreas and the spleen aren't necessarily showing as the organs that need to work with. So let's go, but I'm going to go get it, the stomach and the spleen and the pancreas anyway, just to make sure. I don't want to forget anything. So I do want to look at the body systems. The body systems. Here they are. And yeah, I'm going to get this digestive. So here's that digestive system. Now her lymphatics are actually in green, and that's her ability to move some of this toxicity. So that's good. She's moving. The lymphs are moving things, but she's holding on to stuff. And so there's quite a bit that we could probably be doing to help her release what she's holding on to from a neurological level, from the mind-body connection, from the energy-body connection, and from the physical body. Okay, and then as always, we're going to go pull in those flower essences, and then we're going to run this bad boy for her, and we'll see which one pops up to the top. And so it looks like Willow is showing up as the lowest here, but it's always once it gets in relationship to when we're running it. So let's see, and then I'll get my handy dandy success cards. And so that low prebiotic food, so she really does need some in the GAP state. So she's going to need a lot of support in the gut. It's kind of showing up at the top. And then spleen 11, that's one of those points on the spleen meridian, the blood sugar. So we would be working to get that blood sugar balanced. The toroid, so we're going to use that, her ability to give and receive. I happen to know that Kate is a giver, but she doesn't receive very easily. The I forgive everyone's popping up right there to the top. So that letting go. This is a lot about her letting go. Okay, I won't dig any further into that, but I am going to go ahead and click the red so that we can do a quick balance so that we can look at her aura. I am running over every week lately. While I'm getting all this going, I want to remind you that next week there will not be a live demo, but we will be preparing to move. We're going to be moving to a more interactive webinar platform for these so that we can actually interact and have questions and give full sessions and kind of dive a little further into that. So we'll be announcing through our newsletter that change next week. If you are not on the newsletter, then please email us at lauracardwellqiw@gmail.com is an easy way, and let us know that you want to be on the mailing list. And we would love to have you on there and keep you informed about classes and trainings and things like that. So we're just going to run this for a couple minutes so that then we can recheck her aura and see how things are going. And then once we pop off, I'll run it for the full time for her. And then we could look at creating her master plan. So that's what the program is going to do, is going to create a master plan for everybody individually. And then we're going to work for the 10 weeks. We're going to continue to work that master plan each week. We're going to be going back to it and looking at it and using it as the roadmap for weight release. And that program is going to start. So the registration ends July 15th, and the first class is on July 20th. And again, I'm not 100% sure. I should have written it down, but I think it's $497 is the cost for all 10 weeks and for all 10 classes. And plus, we'll be running quantum biofeedback on the group, so we'll be helping to support that as well. And you'll be getting your individual plans so that we can work through it for you and putting all of that together. It's going to be an amazing program. I'm very excited about the potential for weight release and all of and our general health. And I mean, just overall, not carrying that stuff around is going to make us feel lighter and more vibrant. Kate checked for me, so she's saying $497 is the discounted cost, right? And then she's saying also, wow, look at how messy her waves are. So when this program starts to run, it kind of it gives us a 3D visual of the waveforms, and sometimes that looks a lot more cohesive than it does right now, and that is true. That these look pretty. So I would say that this is a hot mess. No, I'm kidding, Kate. This shows us that there's quite a bit of imbalance, and these are not running in cohesion. Remember, when we talk about waveforms, we want waveforms to run in cohesion and to be balanced with each other. These would be waveforms that are very disruptive to each other. So there's a lot going on right now in these waveforms for Kate. And as we worked with Kate, we'd be looking to see that come more and more in balance as we cleared out issues and we helped balance things energetically, and she started making changes physically. And we can see that the result here is as it stops, we only ran it for 3 minutes, but it's 12%. So this is a thicker, denser energy that we need to work through. There's a lot of a hot mess. There's a lot going on there, right? So that's not going to be fixed in 3 minutes, right? Okay, so let's go look at her aura though, and just take a quick look to see what might be going on. I like to look at the aura really quick because it shows us kind of how she's moving that energy. And while it's loading up and catching up on there, I want to let you guys know that next week, or the 24th and 25th, 23rd and 24th, something like that, I'll have it posted on our website. The Genius BioFeedback is doing a summit, and it's an opportunity to learn how you can use this amazing technology. Anyone can use this technology. I've incorporated it into my practice and working with my clients, but you can own this technology on an app for yourself at home, for your family, for your friends, to help. It's a huge preventative health tool. You can do a lot with it to help your family and to help yourself, and moving a lot of energy out of the field for wellness. And so the summit is all about learning all of those things. I'll be speaking on Wednesday. My friend Denise, who's on here today, will be speaking on Tuesday. Annette will be presenting her research from Quantum University. She used the Quantum Biofeedback to do her research for her doctorate program. And so she'll be presenting that, and which I've gotten to see, which is just amazing. So join us if you can. And there's just a big lag between what's going on the screen and what's going on the biofeedback machine. So while that's loading, I'm just going to hold up. You can't see. You won't be able to see that. Can you see it if I turn it this way? Oh, wait. Maybe it's catching up. It's catching up. So what's gone on here is that now this is the left side. So all that yellow that we were talking about is starting to move out to the left. And we've got a nice pink coming in. I will talk slow so that the computer can catch up with me. There's a nice pink coming in. Now, pink is an emotional color. It can also be a very healing color, but it means that we're moving quite a bit of emotional energy. And that's because we've kind of, even on the unconscious level, whether or not she knows what she's holding on to or doesn't know, we've named that there's some holding on going on. And that's the energy that she's really moving. And then we have that nice purple band at the top, which is that higher consciousness. She's kind of calling in her higher consciousness as a guide for moving some of that emotional energy. And then you see that yellow is moving out on the left. So we're beginning to really address some of that digestive issue. Now, again, that all could be out of balance just because she just ate lunch. I don't know. And it may not be the long-term issue. So, but it does look like cortisol is. So I'm going to continue to run that for Kate, and we'll dig deeper there. I hope that shows you kind of a quick look into what the whole time. I mean, we're looking at a 30-minute look at what I'm going to be breaking down over 10 weeks, and really digging into the neurology and the body function and nutrition, and even all the way to amino acids and supplements. We're going to break it all down. So join us for that weight release class, or if you know anyone who's looking to really release some things and move, then please refer them. We would love to have them. Let me know if you referred them, because I would love to reward you in some kind of way. And Kate says the summit is the 23rd of June at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. And then I think it's 2 hours for 3 days. So, okay, that is it for this week, Kate. If you have an opportunity to kind of hang out somewhere, I'm going to run that for another 20 minutes on you, just to be aware that I'm going to run it, and I'm going to add in a few cortisol support things. And for the rest of you, I won't see you here again, but please let us know that you're interested, and we'll keep you posted on the link for how we're going to move to a different platform so that we can be more interactive. And I appreciate you guys being here every week to do this with me. I will be here this evening for the weekly meditation, but then again, we will not be here for that next week. So, all right, I think that's it. Now I'm rambling. I love you all. Thank you so much, and I will see you very soon. Be well.